Anxiety, overwhelm, that's just an understatement of what's happening in our school system, especially in special education. That's exactly why I've brought Calm Strips, Lucy and Michael to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and I'm excited to have this conversation with both of you today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
As am I. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's have just a little bit of perspective of how did you end up at an IEP table, or what's your experience with an IEP table? Because a lot of people might know what Calm Strips is, but they don't know that you have connections specifically to special education.
Oh boy, do we. I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Mine started a long time ago. So I have 5 kids, 3 of which have IEPs, 2 for speech and 1 for, well, she's actually aged out now, for ADHD and reading. So hers, she's my oldest child. Hers started in kindergarten when she constantly was getting bad behavior marks from her teacher. And I was, this might make me tear up just thinking about it, because my kid's not a bad kid, you know? So I appreciate you. So we struggled with this all through kindergarten, all through first year. When she went to 2nd grade, she had a teacher that saw what was going on past the, again, quote unquote, bad behavior. So she emailed me one day and said, Mrs. Fuller, I really think maybe you need to have your daughter evaluated. And I'll be really honest with you, after that conversation, I was like, oh, this is making sense. I knew she wasn't a bad kid. She's strong-willed, she's high-spirited, but she's not a bad kid. So we asked for an evaluation, and it was not easy to get. We really had to, fight for what we knew was necessary for Pearl. And halfway through the year, we finally got her assessment, we got her diagnosis, and we started her IEP journey, which one of her biggest opportunities was reading. She was delayed in reading. And I mean, by 5th grade, she was reading kind of at a 3rd grade level. And it was actually Harry Potter that caught her attention, and she was off to the races. So now she's doing great. Again, she has progressed out of her IEP. But honestly, she wouldn't be where she is now if we hadn't gotten that and worked with her and her school and her teachers for many, many years. So that's the biggest
process. Yeah, it's always really a process. It's always this long, drawn out, emotional process.
Still emotional.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, and I think I have 2 sons, Max and Miles, and Miles just started kindergarten this past September, and he was recently identified as being on the autism spectrum. And I know that for me, like the hard part for me about the IEP was that at least my experience, like pre-Calm Strips, which is kind of fairly recent, is that, to me, there's kind of like the people I would talk to be like that there was like a stigma attached to an IEP. Like, oh, you don't want your kid to have an IEP, because if your kid has an IEP, then it's this whole big, and it's going to follow him. It's like his rap sheet or something like that. So I was like, very like, okay, well, maybe like, let's wait it out and see, maybe, let's see how, and it was finally like, we met, kind of an advocate who was like, no, this is something that's going to be good for him. It's going to help him. It's going to, be able to again, just kind of make sure he's getting what he needs in his classroom, in his school. And so we end up going through a similar thing where, we kind of went through an assessment and we kind of went through that. But I'll say, and we were doing this all kind of during COVID. So it was kind of like it took a little bit longer, but then also it was, cool, come to this meeting, and then 3 weeks later we'll have the other people who need to really be here because we can't all be in the same place at the same time. And so it was just kind of that. But I will say, it's all worked out for the best. He's doing really well right now in his class. And I think that if he didn't have the IEP, like Lucy said about Pearl, I don't think he would be where he is. And he's progressing on a lot of things now, I think, because he's in the right environment and he has the right accommodations. So I'd be successful. So things that we probably 6 months ago would not have thought were going to be on the horizon for him. So things like even potty training, which is, kind of been a struggle. He's making like really great strides in this area. So for me, it was like kind of that apprehension going into kind of the IEP experience, because I had a lot of kind of, I won't say bad information. It was all well-meaning when it was given. It wasn't like, I think it was just, kind of once I kind of saw what it really was and how it really worked, it ended up being kind of one of the most positive experiences, both for me and my wife, and then also for Miles as well.
Yeah. And that's that we work really hard in the Master IEP Coach community to kind of dispel the myths that are out there, and to not make IEPs a bad thing or a hard thing. They shouldn't be either of those. It's a tool. It's really, a growth plan is what I like to say. It's a growth and a support plan. And that's what we're looking to do, is to help every child be prepared for their future. And I know I reached out to you guys because Calm Strips, if you guys are listening and you don't know what it is, all the links are going to be there, all the things, you're going to be able to find it. Like I said, we even have our customized ones that we send out all the time to all the time. We're sending them out. So if you've purchased a Master IEP Coach toolkit, you've come to one of our Master IEP Coach trainings, you've ordered a Master IEP Coach swag box, you'll find a Calm Strip in there, because Calm Strip, you guys have been fantastic in supporting our mission as parents, teachers, admins, and therapists in doing this work, in bringing this positive collaboration together inside of special education. And I think it's so important for everybody to hear, like, it's not just a Calm Strip that comes in your box, your IEP box that's coming there. Like there's a thought behind that. There's a reason that we're connected to you. So I would love to know a little bit more about how Calm Strips came to be, because we are actually a few episodes ago, we were talking about small businesses in the disability community solving a problem, and that, having a business just to have a business is okay in the disability community, but solving a problem is so cool. And that's where I would love to, I want to encourage more parents and teachers to start their businesses and solve a problem, and to do that. So let's talk about Calm Strips and what problem it solves.
I'll let you start with your story.
There you go. But first, thank you for the kind words. I think, for me, something that is always important is like, before I started Calm Strips, I worked at, Lucy and I actually worked together at Apple. We worked at Apple retail store, and I worked there for about 13 years before starting Calm Strips. And I think the part of the story, like I always say, like I used to tie blue carpenter's tape around my finger, because like the sensory feel of it was something that I found kind of calmed me down. I don't know if you've ever been to an Apple store, especially on a busy day, but
just yesterday, I was actually,
like,
and I tried to I was like, how fast can I get in and out? Like I knew what I wanted, so I could walk in, walk out.
Right.
And I started like the week the original iPhone came out. So I kind of started when it was like this nice little shop, and like, they've got iBooks and stuff like that. And then it became like, oh my gosh, like the busiest place on earth. But like, I think something that always resonated for me, because like, I'll be honest, like my last couple of years there, wasn't like I was like super excited about the job all the time. But like what always resonated with me at Apple is like the idea of like you're kind of doing something bigger than yourself, where it's kind of like, oh, you're helping people. Like, so we talk about lives like, so that my phone has a camera on it, and that's like a cool technology feature, but really what makes it great is if someone uses that to, take pictures of their family that they would not be able to otherwise. And so you kind of tie into like this bigger picture idea. And I think like Calm Strips for me, like that's to me the thing that really resonates with me is like, when I started, if you said like, who is the target market for this? I'd be like, people like me, like kind of fidgety 38-year-olds. That's like our target market. But I think like what we found though, is that like, so many people like yourself and people in education and therapy and places like that were like actively reaching out to us. We're like, we think this is a great idea. We think that this can help people. And like, we are always open to, we want to try and help if we can. And I think like, that's part of the reason I think why we've been able to kind of say like, have a good name, or like get a good name in like those communities, is because we kind of go into those interactions wanting to be, wanting to learn, like, always. Coming into those situations, be like, cool, like tell us more about what you do, tell us more. And like, I think like as we learn and kind of see how people are using Calm Strips and I think that's kind of where it kind of started. It kind of started as an idea, but I feel like it's kind of grown into this thing where it's like, it's just kind of this tool that's being used in many different ways, in many different kind of walks of life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will say one of the biggest communities that we kind of never saw coming, right, was the body focused repetitive behavior community. So people that maybe have tilitrichomania where they pull their hair, or dermatillomania. Oof, girl, dyslexia coming in, where they pick their skin or bite their nails or something like that. And that community reached out to us, and I don't think it was ever in our mind space to think of that as a community that would need this. And we had a customer reach out to us, and she was like, this has really helped me. And we're like, oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. So we kind of leaned into that, and we've worked with some really amazing foundations that are helping those people. Like, we would love to just help as many people as we can. And so if we can help these foundations, we can help you with spreading the word that IEPs are not bad. They're actually really amazing tools. We want to do that because we know the struggle that is to have, anxiety, depression. We know that struggle, and, it's not fun. Absolutely not. But if we can make it any easier, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we talk about IEPs, and we could go to an IEP training that could be, boring and a struggle and not fun. Right. Or we can make IEP trainings fun, and we can make it, engaging with that. And I love that, these are fun designs, and that you've made it not an intrusive tool. So it's so discreet, and it's so easily, it's portable, and it's just stickable wherever. That is so important, because every parent and teacher has had the fidget spinner
yeah,
or popper, or whatever, the not a comb strip.
A lot of times I'm sorry, when we
it.
talk to teachers, they're like, oh, these are really cool, blah, blah, blah. And they'll, explain to us why they think they're cool. And we're like, and they're silent, and they're like, oh, they're silent. So
I think the interesting thing is a lot of times, I feel like we're kind of careful. Like, we have this thing that I always say about, other things being clunky and cumbersome. And it's become a joke because I say it exactly that way. If they're clunky and cumbersome, but I think not that we get into trouble, but I think where it's really important to us is that if something's helpful for someone, we don't want to necessarily say no, it's not, that's not a valid way for it to go. And I think we ran an ad, actually. What makes me think about it is we got a really nice comment from a teacher. They sent us, and they're like, I love these. They're so much better in my classroom than a fidget spinner or a fidget cube, or other fidgets, because they're quieter, all the stuff that we're talking about, their design, they're all the good stuff. So we took this quote, and we put it, we asked her if we could use it. We put in this ad, and had a comm strip on one side and a fidget, a comm strip on one side, and a fidget spinner on the other side. And this is gonna be a great ad. It communicates the benefits and all that kind of stuff. And the comments got so kind of heated that just because of people
you know what everybody's doing right now, because I know that my listeners are in Facebook world. They're like, we know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it just got so heated that eventually I was like, maybe this so if you go on our education site, that graphic is there on our education site. But I was like, man. And so it's I feel like sometimes it's you kind of want to put something positive out there, but then some people will be like, right. But yeah, if it works for you, go on for yourself, treat yourself. But I think especially for most classroom environments, I think this is a better tool than something like a fidget spinner or cube, especially in that environment. And also even better something like Velcro. A lot of people say, well, it's we use Velcro, and that's a totally valid thing to do. But especially the hard half of Velcro, it's it can scratch up your, it's rough. I think we have a good middle ground of stuff that it's textured, but it's not you have to worry about hurting yourself on it, or cutting your finger, or scratching yourself, or stuff like that. But
or throwing it across the room.
Yes, right. That's another.
I will say, to your point, right? in the classroom, calm strips are great. I am not going to diss a fidget spinner or cube or anything. If you're needing that stim, go for it. Knock yourself out. But specifically in the classroom.
Yes.
And I mean, the cool thing is, like, Michael started this because he couldn't bring, something out on the floor of a retail environment where he's a manager. So having something that is both beautiful and discreet is, A+.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you guys got a taste of that. Maybe I don't love it, but that you got a taste of it. That's our disability world, right? Where we're very like, if this works for me, it works for me. If this works for you, this works for you. Like respect. Just respect. It's totally fine.
Well, and it's the same kind of thing. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a son, Miles, who's on the autism spectrum, and like for the first year almost that we were in business, I wouldn't mention him or talk about him or because like my big thing is like, I don't want anyone to be like, well, see, he's just kind of taking advantage. He's using. So like, I was like, so now like I'm more comfortable kind of talking about it because like we've kind of established ourselves a little bit. But yeah, I never want anyone to be out there in the universe and be like, oh, you see, look at those guys. They're just taking advantage of like that.
No, I'll tell you, Michael, in the last podcast, the business one that I said, this is how I frame it. This is just, these are my words and how I put it, is I don't want somebody to start a business in the disability community for pity sales. Like, I don't want the pity sales. Like, oh, no, I want to solve a problem. So I get that you're navigating to make sure that your story is part of the picture, but it's not the full why, and that you're solving a problem in there. I love that so much.
And I think a lot of times in this community, especially in the education kind of community, I think what ends up happening is that a lot of times, like, I feel like the companies that are selling into this market or talking to this market is they don't have a respect for the people that they're talking to, and they don't have a sense of it. And like, so like a lot of times, like if you look at our ads, and this is very kind of intentional, and plus it's just, I mentioned I'm an Apple fan, but like you'd look at our ads and you'd be like, you'd think they were like, I don't know if Abercrombie and Fitch is still a thing. Kids still wear that? No. What are kids wearing these days?
I don't know. Old Navy is
Old Navy or something. like we try and make it like, this is cool, this is hip. Right. And like, so like when people buy it, they don't feel like, oh, I'm just buying this thing that, like, they feel like I'm buying this cool thing. It's cool. The kids think it's cool. The grownups think it's cool. And like the designs are part of that. Like just having something that, when people see my phone, like I have my comm strips on here, if they know about them, great, they know what they are, and I can talk about it. If not, it's just like pretty stickers on my phone. And like I've had so many times like, oh, what are those pretty stickers on your phone? I'm like, oh, those are comm strips. And like, even if the idea of comm strips doesn't resonate with them, pretty stickers resonates with them. And so like, it's like one of those things where it's just like, it's finding that right way to communicate a message.
I agree.
And to talk to people. And I think one of the reasons we've been successful is I think we've addressed a lot of these markets and these people, not just markets, but like people, teachers, they're with like a respect, I think that they're not used to always having in interactions with companies, with like people like Lucy and myself.
Right.
Absolutely.
As I ramble on, I go.
I know I'm going to ramble too, if that's okay, if I may. Well, you had said earlier about IEPs are not bad, and trying to take away, demystify them, and I think we've tried to do that as well. Like, yes, we're trying to solve a problem, but we're also like, there's always like root cause analysis. Like, why is this a problem? Why is it not more popular? Why is it not more in the the unconscious of everyone? It's because we've had a lot of teachers say, oh, I just put Velcro under their desk. It makes my hair stand on end. I'm like, why are you hiding the fact that why are you hiding the fact that, one, maybe all of your students need this, and it's okay to need something to help you. So that's another reason, like Michael said, we make them beautiful. So I know I just got this one put on my phone, and I love it. It's a little spaceship. And my 6-year-old, my feral child, we call him lovingly, he's like, is that a spaceship? I said, yeah, it's a spaceship. He goes, I really like that. That's awesome. Let's do it, buddy. So they are beautiful. And, all of my kids know that if you need help, ask for it. Don't be ashamed of it. Kind of destigmatize the fact that needing help, having help, and using tools are it's not bad. It's actually very wonderful. And the fact that we can live in an age where, even invisible disabilities are getting the recognition that they deserve.
I love that so much. So typically at the end, I ask things like, what's something that you want to leave with parents or teachers, admins, therapists? And I'm actually going to sum up what you just said, that like, we need to leave them with, like, if you need help, ask for it.
Please.
Like there's resources out there. It's so much that's available, and being ashamed of it is not helpful at all. So I want to thank you guys for being here and sharing your story and sharing about Calm Strips and the why behind it, because it is so much more than just a tool. There's a purpose. So I appreciate you guys so much. And we appreciate you in our Master IEP Coach community for getting behind our mission and doing this also. So, all right, I'm going to make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with you so they can get custom ones, or, for their schools. I'm like, all the schools should have them with their custom logos on them. I'm just saying, and right. Just put that out there. Again, everybody follow the links and find all the things, all the places where you can find Michael, Lucy, Calm Strips, and find
Michael at calmstrips.net, Lucy at calmstrips.net. We're still small. We're 7 people, and we check our own email, so you're not going to get to like.
Thanks for that, Michael.
Our person. Well, no, like you're not going to get like.
Michael and
no,
Lucy.
I mean, it's like you're not going to get
fill their inbox.
It's okay. My name's spelled weird, so you're fine.
LUCE at calmstrips.net. I'm sorry, but you get one of us pretty easily.
Yeah, it's true. We're easy to reach.
Absolutely. And I want to encourage everybody who's listening, no matter where you're listening at, leave a comment. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave a 5-star review and leave a comment there, because the more that you comment, the reviews that you leave, it helps more parents and teachers find resources like Calm Strips. And that's what we're here to do. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.